just went on. Sorry. All right, we'll go live in a minute. There we are. I think we'll just wait another minute or two, and looks like people are joining up here. It looks like yeah, some people coming in, so we'll just wait. Okay, I think we're probably ready to go live. Welcome to X-Force session on Einstein Next Best Action. Today I've got Sika Baid and Laura Gliader. Just massacred both your names, I realize, sorry. We're going to talk about next best action and their experience with that. This is going to be more of a Q&A format, so if you have some questions, you can just throw them in the Q&A. We'll take your questions as they come, but I'll read them off when we have like a natural break. So first thing, let's hear introductions, and then I think you guys have a little bit of just a basic intro to Einstein NBA that for those of us who haven't ever seen it before. Thanks. Let Sika go first.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Shikha Baid. I work with Accenture as a team lead, and I have taste of both products and services. And yeah, it's almost 6+ years I'm in the Salesforce ecosystem, an active part of community, and I call myself a techie. So that is where I did some experiment with Einstein, and yeah, so that was my intro. Elora, over to you.
Hi, I'm Eloha. So I'm a Salesforce consultant, both technical and functional. I work for Texay in France, and I love testing new features, new Salesforce features all the time. And that's when I tried Next Best Action last year for a client. So I will share with you my screen up. I hope everyone can see it. Let me put it on. Oh. Can you see my screen or not?
Not yet, Elora.
Okay, sorry. I think I'm having a little connection trouble here.
We just lost Laura for a moment. So maybe Sika, you could tell us a little bit about what you've done with Next Best Action when we get till we get Laura back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So next best action is, basically about enabling your business with suggestions
I'm
and recommendations related to
sorry.
the. No problem, Melra.
I'm sorry. I had a little trouble with Zoom. I never. Now you
There we
should.
go.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it came up.
So, yeah, so you were saying I didn't want to interrupt you, Sika, so.
No problem. It's okay. Absolutely fine. Okay. Yeah. Next best action. Yes, it is a tongue twister right from the day one when I when I started working on it till date. I'm not yet fluent with it. So, yeah. uh, the name itself suggests that it will enable you to show up the recommendation. What are the next steps you could take, to serve your business to the fullest? Now, there are a few components which are very interesting when we configure your next best action. Flows are a very important part of it. Then it goes to recommendations, and then the strategy which you build for your business uh, to enable it and show it to your service agents or whoever you would like to. So flows are the basic or the roots of next best action. Until there is an active flow, your recommendations would not surface on the record which you want to. And as a part of X-Force Data Summit in March, I believe, yeah, I did a basic check of what it can do, and we worked around a very simple but a very powerful example of the, so that we can come to know what can we do actually with the next best action. So we curated a action plan for our leads, which included next best action coupled with prediction builder. So the Einstein AI, that is the predictions, was coupled with next best action to build up the best strategy, like the percentage of discount you would like to offer to your customers or your leads, and those stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so just to complete what the Sika was saying. So you have basically 3 items for Einstein next best action, which are your flow, which is the action that is triggered by your strategy, the strategy you build in strategy builder, which is basically a flow builder. That surfaces recommendations. Recommendations are record from a standard, a new standard object in Salesforce. And where I will go a little bit further is that the design and implement process are totally reversed. First, you identify your strategy, the things you want to solve. Then you define the recommendation, like in practical terms, what do I suggest to the user? What will he see in the next best action component? And then you transform that into actions. So basically offer discount percentage or add this product to the opportunity, for example. But when you implement, it's reversed. It's first you need to build your flow, build your action, then only then can you create your recommendation, because the recommendation record has a required field which is the action field, and then you implement your strategy, which means you build your strategy using the strategy builder.
Yeah, true. One important thing which Laura mentioned was the recommendation standard object comes into play when we talk about next best action. Uh, it can pick up, you can directly use the recommendations object, or you can process the records from your customers' other standard objects to convert them to recommendations and further build your strategy.
Yes, so
But
before
the recommendations are pre-computed, you're saying, basically. It isn't on the fly. They go and pull up a recommendation when the object underlying, like the opportunity or whatever, is picked up, right?
So recommendations, yes, they are the recommendation records are nothing but normal object records like in Salesforce. But we can put in the logic together to convert the opportunity records to recommendations, and recommendations would be something that would flow or surface on your records to suggest the next best action.
thing is, the strategy builder, as it is a kind of a flow slash process builder, when you build your strategy, we will show it a little bit later, you have to choose the object you're selecting for the strategy. So then you will surface all kind of recommendations, and you can filter them whichever you want with custom field on the recommendation object, or with custom field on your object, the object or even standard field on the object you're selecting. So yeah, these are related. It's how it's related to the objects. Before showing you how it works and how it looks, how much does it cost? Well, it's a freemium, which means everyone can test it, but it can be quite expensive. We know Salesforce. You have a pack of 5,000 strategy requests call per org per month, which includes every time you call, every time you call the strategy builder, including when you test your strategy. So it can become quite expensive quite quickly, but you can buy additional packs of strategies requests and it's unlimited if you have Service Cloud Einstein, which is available from Enterprise Edition. And a request is triggered each time that the MBA component is rendered. So each time you update through a record through the user interface, basically.
Yes.
That can get spendy really quickly because people are always pulling up. I mean, the daily workflow, somebody could pull up hundreds of opportunities.
Yeah, yeah. It depends on how many records you have, how many records you have, or if either you're a small company with not a lot of records and you can stay more or less within the limits, or you have a huge company and then you're better off with Service Cloud and Einstein anyway. Okay, so maybe we can show a little bit the different components we were talking about. So I will stop sharing and share something else. Okay, let me see. Are there any questions while I'm trying to find the videos?
I'm trying to think of some. So Sika, maybe while Alora is getting that together, you've done some work in the sandbox on next best action, and you have a presentation that will I think it's linked in the talk description, but if it isn't, we'll send it out in the email to all of our X-Force participants. But maybe you could tell us a little bit about that, a little more about it.
Yeah. Sure. So that was about curating an action plan for your leads. So it was basically the Einstein prediction builder and Einstein next best action coupled together. So what we did there was we created prediction on our opportunity or lead object. Sorry, the lead object, and that is where we populated a field with the prediction results, and depending on that we built our flow, which was ultimately used in the strategy, and then which was ultimately used in the recommendations, and then configured it with the business logic, saying that if the prediction value is say greater than 6 and less than 10, it would be something which is a high quality lead, and thus we would offer a discount of 10%. So you just have to click on accept or reject on the component that displays on your record detail page. So yeah, that way it will take it further, whether it has to take you to the flow which has been configured as an active flow on the approval of that particular recommendation, or if you reject it, if your system or strategy is configured, it will show up the next recommendation to you. Depending on the, you can also limit the number of recommendations you want to give in a particular time frame. Maybe you want to make the next recommendation in like next 5 days, not before that, then you can configure that as well in your strategy builder. So strategy builder, yes, as Alora mentioned, it is more or less like the flow builder, like the lightning flow builder, just that it has different components than it, but yeah, it is a similar interface and you can use it exactly like that.
And a
And
key
yeah,
point,
one
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, we used it in a lightning record page during the demo, what I did on the sandbox. But there are various places you can use it, and this is where, the limit of your next best actions or the flow builder calling hits very easily, because you can expose it in your community as well, in your record pages. In fact, the lightning console apps as well, it is available. It can be packaged and can be distributed to anyone who wants to use your product. So yeah, this is where it stands very true that you can very easily hit the limit of the free number of calls to your next best action.
And a key point in what you just said in your presentation is that you have the recommendation, but to make it easy on the user that's looking at the recommendation, when they accept it, it triggers a flow, right? That will
Yes.
do something like adjust a discount or whatever action
Yes.
this to complete the whole process, you want the flow to automate the recommendation. You don't want it to be, oh, do this, and then the user has to go do something manually. It's supposed to just be smoothly. If you want to do that, triggers a they say yes, triggers a flow, and the action happens. Right?
Yes, it can be an auto-launched flow where everything, runs in the background. Or if you want some information, as soon as your lead accepts the discount, that is where you can use the UI flow as well, and it will ask you for some details, whatever it is configured for.
So I believe you can all see my screen. So this is an example a proof of concept that I did for one of my clients. So here's an example of recommendation record. Sorry, it's in French, but okay. So as you can see, you have some standard fields, name, description, which is the description is what will be displayed in the next best action component, as you will see later. You can add a picture or a little GIF if you want. This is actually a custom field category that I really believe in because,
Elora,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but we see the strategy builder and not
Ah,
the recommendation screen. Yeah,
sorry.
no problem.
Zoom and I aren't best friends right now. Uh, I'm stopping it and then sharing it again. Up this step 2. Is it okay? That's the right thing. Okay,
Yes.
this is the right thing. So, okay, so this is the name, the description. This is categories. That's a custom field that I did that helps you filter through the recommendation. And then you have the action, which is the flow. Sorry, you see my, okay. So basically, the acceptance label, that's what you show when you want your user to say yes to your recommendation, rejection label when it says no. That was actually an old record of the recommendation. As of spring 20, you can also launch a flow when the user says no, because before you couldn't. It was only when he accepted the recommendation. So that's an example of recommendation record. Here you have an overview of the strategy builder. So basically, what you have is all the different elements that you can use just to load up your recommendation. You can limit how many times you will show the recommendation to the user. That's an example of loading a record and filtering by my custom field category, for example. Okay, so that's the number of time I will show this recommendation one time in a period of 7 days. That's what I chose. This are I will show every time because they're after the rebounds component. And then this is how you select, how you filter between your recommendation when you show them. Okay, so I always use the advanced feature because it's how you can really use custom fields and not only recommendation fields. You can use them as let's say formula field. That's what's interesting. And that's a little trick if you want to know if you don't have any syntax errors, for example. You can just open a formula field and test your syntax into that, and then just copy paste it in the advanced tab. And then the output is the recommendation that will surface. You can use this test to test and to choose records and test how your strategy works by entering quite a few records. That's it for the strategy builder, I believe. And I can show you an example. So to give you a little bit of context, I work for a company that tries to help people to renovate their homes. Okay, so they they try to connect companies that will renovate homes and homeowners, help them get financial aid from the state, for example. So what we have is, if we don't have, that's an example of if your construction building partner is late, it will for a meeting with the client, you recommend to your user, which is an operation agent, to call the partner, for example. So okay, so I choose my project, I go to my building, and as you see, you can use a GIF. So he's late on his meeting. So then you have, okay, like template for the call, and then asking to the partner what is the main reason where they are late, and then you ask him to give another date for the meeting with the client, and then okay, that's the end. And now the date is updated. That is this one in the strategy builder, and that's where we select, because it's okay, this one, because it's true, he's late, and that's the recommendation record that is associated with and that's the flow that I built with the different outcomes depending on what the agent will choose as a reason for the partner being late. So as you can see, you can have many outputs, different outputs for one recommendation, which is basically your flow. One thing that I would suggest is quite the same as process builders. A good practice, best practice is have, mostly if you can, only one strategy per object, and just do it all in your strategy.
So when we hear the term Einstein, we think of artificial intelligence, but this isn't artificial. The examples you gave us today aren't artificial intelligence the way people mostly think of it. It's sort of if-then logic. If something's this way, then we'll do that, which is fine. I mean, that's adding knowledge to an agent's workflow, because you embody that knowledge in the if-then workflow. But what sort of predictive or artificial intelligence type things can you do in Strategy Builder, if any?
Okay, so you can use Einstein. You can use Einstein the discovery. If I can just show the Strategy Builder again, with the enhance element, you can use Einstein discovery and really have some artificial intelligence. I didn't try it, to be honest. You can also use API calls to call external services, for example, for sentiment analysis or whichever, that can give you with the invocable actions in flows. You can call whichever you want. So if you want to bring some artificial intelligence in Einstein next action, you most definitely can, but you also can use it the good old way, which is build up your own intelligence. And basically most of the time you will do that and not use really AI, but you can do both.
Sika, have you done any other than the presentation you gave, have you, I think one of the questions people have is anybody using this in production? And I think the answer for both of you is no. Maybe, is it price, do you think, that stops people? Or is it just because it's new? Or what are your thoughts?
I won't, yeah, price for next best action. Yes, definitely, because you can hit the calls. And as Elora said, that it should either be a small organization or a small product where they can stay in the limits, or huge ones which can, just afford how much it costs. Apart from that, yes, this has been used. I have not used it, but people who are known to me, they have used it. Like, for an example, I could say they have used it for campaign and marketing analysis, where they have their telemarketers in place, where they could, using the next best action and predictions and discovery, they can, suggest what products to sell, or a combination of products to sell to their customers. uh, Maybe it depends absolutely on the business, how it wants to take, with the one which has very high incentives, or the one which meets the customer requirements, or the one which is, the most hot selling. So yeah, that is one of the examples I have come across. I haven't done them hands on yet, but yeah. Yeah, for sure, Einstein has is being used. Many of the Accenture projects use them. So yeah, it is being used.
Yeah, it is. It's just for my client, it was too expensive, and he didn't. It was a good use case, but too expensive. But what we thought as a little hack, I'm not sure that's quite allowed, but as I told you before, the limits are the calls that you make to the strategy builder. The the strategy builder is actually called when the next best action component loads on the page, or is rendered on the page, or re-rendered on the page, which means when you open a record, or when you update the record through user interface. So what I was thinking about, and actually an architect friend that told me that tip was, maybe you can use development code to filter and say, oh, I only want to generate the next best action component when to filter and limit the number of strategies, the number of calls to the strategy builder. That's what a friend like told me as a hint. Maybe someone can try that. I don't know if that works really, and I'm not sure Salesforce would be too happy about it. But
Well, I think it's fair that if there is no next best action for that record, that you shouldn't take a hit, just because the component's rendered. But if it doesn't have anything in there to do a next best action, you shouldn't have to pay for that, right? I mean, if you put logic in for that, I think that's fair. I don't know if Salesforce would think it's fair, but that's another topic.
but there are many things that you can do now. You said it was quite a new feature. It's been there for some times now.
Yeah.
So and there are a lot of things that are new. As Sika said, it can be used as of Spring 20, I think, with communities. You can get analysis from all the recommendations that surfaced, how many times users accepted them or rejected them, to see how much it's used throughout your org. I think you can, well, what I said before, that now you can also launch a flow if the user rejects your recommendation. So that is a very, very powerful tool, I think. Quite expensive, but it can help you bring a lot of business and a lot of customer value, because you can really treat each customer the way that he needs to, the way that individually, and not as a whole.
Yeah. So, excuse me. So, if you're going to launch a flow when they reject the next best action, what would be some of the things you might want to do if someone says no? bring up another action or
I don't
request
know if you can
feedback?
bring, I don't know if you can bring up another action, but definitely get feedback. Like maybe why wasn't it the next best action for me? Or I think that's, yeah, maybe the definitely the use case.
All right. If anybody has any questions in the audience, go ahead and throw them in the Q&A. Did we have some more? One of the things is, have you guys looked at all about what sorts of things you can do in communities? That seems like if you're paying per next best action, that seems like a use case where you might end up using a lot of next best action clicks. Have either you used it in communities at all or seen the communities use case? No?
Uh, Not a use case in the community, but yeah, it is not called next best action component there. It's called the suggested actions component there, so that you can drag it to your community. And for the lightning console, it is your actions and recommendations component, so it has got all different names to be dragged in everywhere. Yeah, I haven't gone through the communities, but yeah, definitely the campaign stuff which we talk about, or the service cloud, everything we do on the console, that can also accommodate, that can be accommodated there as well. So yeah, that is pretty much the use case for the service cloud users.
Yes, or if you have a partner community, for example, and you want to you want to suggest next best action to your partner, like, oh, maybe you're late to give me your numbers on this or that. I don't know, but I really believe that it's mainly to it. I would mainly use it for partner communities, obviously. I customer communities can be really high volume portals, so I'm not sure that it's first that is compatible. I think it's you can only put it on. Uh, Not sure. I won't say something that I'm not sure about. But yeah, definitely I would use it to help my partners do the action that I need them to do in order to bring me business.
Great. Well, if I don't see any questions from the audience, I think we'll probably bring this to a close unless you two have something more to share, either of you.
Yeah,
We're good.
just a few things
Yeah, go ahead,
about
Sika.
the flow builder. So
Yeah,
as soon
great.
as we can always, create a flow or a recommendation with an inactive flow, but then it would not surface on your record via strategy if it is not active. So as soon as you save your recommendation, there is a check which says that if the flow is active or not. So definitely that is one of the things to take care. Also on recommendations, as Elora was showing in one of her screen shares, that we must it's must that you create a category field either on your customer object or on recommendations, so that you can categorize your recommendations well, because for recommendation records, multiple records with the same names are allowed. So
Mm,
definitely category would be something that you need to separate your strategy actions and recommendations. Apart from that, I think pretty much it. Just one more thing it hit me is uh, in your app homepage, like the homepage of your app or your community or service console, you can use the global variables there, while you cannot use them on your record pages. So anywhere the record on the record page, if it is used, then you cannot use them. But if it is an app homepage, you are allowed to use something like user ID, the global variables like user ID.
okay. All right. That's good to know.
Um,
Well,
As for me, I think maybe it's more like tips and tricks for more like the flow builder. Sometimes I had the trouble. I couldn't find my invocable action in the Lightning Flow Builder. So one little tip is if this happens to you, uh, either in next best action or when you want to do use an invocable method in your Lightning Flow Builder, you can just enable the old Flow Builder, Flow Designer, open it. You will find your invocable action there, and just then reopen Lightning Flow Builder. This happened to me actually. I was totally crazy that I couldn't find my invocable method. Apart from that, that was my first webinar. So I'm sorry for the little technical difficulties, but I was really thrilled to be with you.
Oh, now we have a question. See, people do that when you just think you're about ready to go. For strategy, there's two questions. First one is for Strategy Builder, is there a limit on how many recommendations you can use within the flow?
I don't believe I know the answer to that, but I would definitely say no. Well, I mean, you would have to really, really, really want to push it to go to a limit, because I don't know if you, well, thinking reversely is you have a problem you want to solve. That's how you use a recommendation. So you would have what, 1,000 problems, 1,000 ideas of recommendations. That will be very difficult, I think, to maintain. And the idea is not to solve everything, is to solve your real problems, or to bring the most value you can. So I don't think you can really run into limits, or you would really have to try it. If you can let me know.
The limits are probably more practical than they are technical, is what you're saying,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. The second, his or her second question is, allowing the same name seems confusing. Can you turn that off, the same name on a recommendation, to prevent duplicates?
I don't think so, because I have not tried it, but I believe that there is no validation rule or anything as such that we can do on recommendations. Elora, do you know anything about it?
Really, no, I haven't tried it. But thing is, well, the reason, because the reason behind the fact that you can name give the same name to the recommendation is because your recommendation record is not linked to a particular object. You link it through the strategy builder. So sometimes you might want to call to call the recommendation with the same name, because it kind of does the same thing, or have the same thinking behind it, but you will not use it on the same object. So that's why you should really categorize your recommendation using a custom field, or any custom fields you want. But I think that's why you can have duplicate names, I think.
Yes, but you can always put in the category on any particular recommendation if they have same names. That is where you can differentiate it.
Great, great. All right, well, thanks for the question, and thanks, Laura and Sika, for presentation. I appreciate both of your participation, and very interesting program. I just wanted to, if I was a good host, I would have my next schedule right in front of me, but of course I'm not. So here we go. So at 45 minutes after the hour, Edsel Villados, who works here at Xplenty, is going to talk about Xplenty and Heroku Connect, which is a Salesforce product. And then at the top of the hour, Aaron Creer from Hatcher Consulting is going to talk about collaboration and sharing with reports and dashboards. So those are the next two presentations that are coming. So I encourage you to come and attend those and ask questions and learn some more about Salesforce. Again, thanks, Sika, thanks, Laura, and thanks to everybody who attended.
Thanks, Leonard. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us here.